On Sunday in Cuba, elections for provincial governors and vice governors will be held throughout the country. In Türkiye, citizens vote in the presidential runoff to elect the country's president. And in Spain, regional and municipal elections are underway with at least 35 million citizens called to vote. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Heidy Maurell from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news, stay with us. On Sunday in Cuba, elections for provincial governors and vice governors will be held throughout the country. According to Cuban electoral law number 127 of July 13, 2029, both positions are elected by the delegates to the municipal assemblies of the People's Power at the proposal of the President of the Republic for a period of 5 years. The voting acts are headed by the President of the corresponding Municipal Electoral Council and a deputy to the National Parliament, appointed by the Council of State. At the polling station, the delegates meet on Sunday to elect by their own right through free, equal, direct and secret vote the highest government authorities of the province. As essential requirements prior to the movement, the candidate for the governor or vice governor must be born in Cuba, have no other citizenship, be at least 30 years old, reside in province, and be in full enjoyment of civil and political rights. In Venezuela, after 15 years without renewing authorities, Central University, the highest educational institution in the country, suspends elections. The elections were suspended after the university electoral body confirmed irregularities committed during the process. For the elections were invited active students and graduates, professional workers and administrative staff, active and retired. Members of the Vucic community denounced the management of the current rector, Cecilia Garcia Rocha, who they accused of alleged acts of corruption. The University Council fixes for June 9th the repetition of the elections where rector, vice-rectors, and deans for the 11 faculties, among other authorities, will be elected. The voting is organized by university authorities themselves without any participation of the national government for electoral authorities.
There's always an excuse, always this, not that the TSJ, that's enough, tell the truth. They don't want to let go because they are stealing the money. They are stealing the money. They've got the poor teachers struggling. They've got the teachers scrapping. Teachers who give their lives to teach, to educate, to prepare the future of the country. They think we are fools, that we are not going to do anything because we are always very peaceful. But that's enough.
On Saturday, United States local media indicated the White House and the Republican Party U.S. debt ceiling negotiations showed signs that the deal could be reached by the end of the week. Previously, Treasury Department Secretary Janet Yellen warned Congress that the nation will run out of money before June 5 if they do not raise the debt limit. On Saturday, Republicans say they have not yet scheduled any in-person meeting with their White House counterparts, although they added that they are in constant communication through calls and other electronic challenge. If the debt ceiling is not raised from its current limits on $31.4 trillion, the country should suspend Social Security payments and the salary of its federal employees, in addition to the negative effects in the global economy, affecting prices and mortgage rates in other countries. United States House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on Saturday reiterated his confidence that an agreement to raise the public debt ceiling will be reached before June 5 deadline.
There's a change in Washington. Not just is this place open again, not just that you can read it, but the bill itself is much better. There's not runaway spending. There's actually doing things, repealing money that you've already spent from a rescission. It could be the largest rescission in the history of America. I mean, there are ideas in here that people have really talked about from common sense around the kitchen table that they might actually see happen.
Demonstrators from various organizations, including Extinction Rebellion, Black Lives Matter, and Republic, marched in Central Town against the Public Order Bill, a new legislation designed to limit the right to protest in the UK. Demonstrators condemned and described the government's controversial laws on protests as draconian and authoritarian. Protesters gathered in Parliament Square say the bill could curb the right to peaceful protest. The public order will be introduced new offences, including locking on, a tactic used in recent years by some environmental protesters to fasten themselves to a protest point, going to equip to look at an interference with key national infrastructure.
We've got a rich tradition of non-violent direct action and protest in this country, and now, little by little, this is being chiselled away by pieces of legislation like the Public Order Act. It also gives arbitrary powers to the police. They say, oh, we've got these powers, but we might not use them. We probably won't use them. We'll only use them if we need to. But that makes it at the whim of the commissioner or the chief inspector or the Home Secretary. They want people to stay home.
The government has taken on absolutely crazy restrictive new powers, making it almost impossible really to protest legally. If the police, they can stop almost any arrest and any protest, arrest people in advance and so on.
So the government is trying to stop people from protesting, stop us from speaking up against its wrongs. And which is dangerous, because if you don't speak up, they'll continue to have even worse policies against the people.
And let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok account at teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Türkiye, citizens are voting in the presidential runoff to choose between incumbent President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of the ruling People's Alliance and his rival, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, the candidate of the opposition National Alliance. The polls will remain open between 8 o'clock a.m. and 5 p.m. local time, and a few hours later, the National Electoral Commission will announce the results. More than 191,000 ballot boxes have been installed in 973 districts and 1,094 polling stations throughout the country. Polling stations abroad closed on Wednesday with a record turnout, while the ballot process continued along borders point until the afternoon. This election first round took place on May 14th with 3 candidates, none of which obtained the necessary 15% plus 1 to win. 2 weeks ago, the participation reached a very high 89%. Experts and observers expect a similar response this time. The chairman of the Türkiye High Electoral Council, Ahmet Yener, stressed that the voting process for the presidential runoff is carried out without incidents. After exercising his voting rights at a polling station in Ankara, the head of the electoral authorities informed that the counting of ballots could be carried out in a shorter time. Ahmet Yener reminded that the ban on announcing the provisional result of the vote count remains in place until the Electoral Council decides to lift the measure ahead of time. After exercises his right to vote, the president and candidate for re-election, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, said that he expects a smooth electoral process with the result issued at a faster speed than in the first round. The head of the state highlighted the participation of the citizens and reminded that the Turkish democratic process gives the possibility to choose between one or several candidates.
In Turkey's democratic life, this is the first time we are witnessing such voting. There is no other country in world history that has a voter turnout of nearly 90%. But Turkey, with a nearly 90% turnout, is battling for democracy in the best way, and I believe this will be the case today. I pray to God that the election will be beneficial for our country and nation.
In Spain, regional and municipal elections are underway with at least 35 million citizens called to vote. In their reports, the different polling stations of the autonomous communities highlighted the normality with which the democratic exercise is taking place. Some polling official spokesperson has confirmed that the participation data could be published at 14 o'clock local time, and the first preliminary results at 22:30. Specialists pointed out that the Community of Madrid is the main power struggle, whose main parties expect to reach a majority within the parliamentary system. The president of the Spanish government, Pedro Sánchez, exercised his right to vote in Madrid, becoming one of the first politicians to put his ballot. The leader of the executive encouraged citizens to go to the polls to vote in a positive way. Sánchez stressed the importance of the elections to seek solutions to problems of public health, education, and housing policies for young people. Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic resigns as a leader of the country's ruling party. During a congress of the Serbian Progressive Party, Vucic announced his resignation as the head of the party. He pointed out that also he is separating from the leadership of his politician organization to form a non-partisan government of citizens who seek to defend the interests of the Serbs. He will not stop working together with the party authorities. During the Congress of the Progressive Party, the current Defense Ministry, Milos Vucevic, who had been proposed as a candidate by the ongoing president, was elected as the new leader. Vucevic pointed out that the political organization will remain faithful to the ideals of defending Serbs of any part of the world, including those in Kosovo. Aleksandar Vucic's removal as the leader of the Serbian Progressive Party came amid protests in the country by those opposed to his administration. Demonstrations in the country began in early May in rejection of the violence in the country, after 18 Serbs were killed in 2 shootings. In this context, government officials, together with Russian and Chinese intelligence services, warned of the attempt to organize and carry out a revolution based on color of the skin. The resignation also followed an increase in tensions in the north of the Kosovo region, after local authorities took over public buildings by force, threatening to serve population on site. This Saturday in Mauritania, around 400,000 citizens went to the polls again to elect a representative to the National Parliament chamber. This round concerns only the deputies, since municipal and regional councillors were elected in the first round last May 13, where half of the deputies had already been assigned to the ruling Insaf party. In this regard, the National Independent Electoral Commission confirmed that voting took place in 18 cities on the country and the several foreign countries, including France and the United States. However, the results were criticized by the whole political class, claiming massive fraud, and the opposition demanded a rerun of the election. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy Latin American alternative broadcast. We'll find a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Israelis took to the street of Tel Aviv on Saturday for the 21st consecutive week of protest against the far-right government's controversial judicial reform plans, days after parliaments approved the state budget. Thousands of Israelis have been protesting every weekend since January against this reform and Netanyahu's administration. The Israeli press estimated the number of demonstrators in Tel Aviv on Saturday at tens of thousands, while the police did not give any figures of the number of people gathered. Protests also took place in other Israeli cities such as Haifa and Beersheba in the south of the country. Also, Netanyahu announced on March 27 a pause in the implementation of the reform. The weekly demonstrations are continuing. In addition to protesting against the judicial reform on Saturday, Israeli demonstrations reject a state budget approved by the parliament on Tuesday.
We come to demonstrate every week because it's important, because we don't have another country, because people are trying to take control over our regime and turn it into something bad, to impose things we don't believe in, like xenophobia, and denying rights from minorities, to change the balance of everything that existed here and ruin the country's future. Very problematic. A sectoral budget aimed at dividing us, giving money to those close to the government, not to sectors in need like health, education or academia, but rather to perpetuate the inequality.
The government of Iraq unveiled on Saturday an ambitious plan to become a regional transportation hub by developing its road and rail infrastructure, linking Europe with the Middle East. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani announced that once completed, a $17 billion project known as the Developing Route will span the entire country, stretching 1,200 kilometers from the northern border with Türkiye to the Gulf in the south. Iraq's government has given priority to the reconstruction of the country's road network, along with upgrading its electricity infrastructure. This project is a pilot of the sustainable oil economy, will serve Iraq's neighbors and the region, and will contribute to the economic integration efforts, Sudani stated. The war in Sudan has moved to the northern city of Darfur, in the border area with Chad. The conflict is estimated to leave over 1 million people displaced. After hitting Khartoum, the country's capital, violence hit western Darfur. Residents fleeing to Chad and its smaller numbers to South Sudan claimed that the battle for the powers between the army and the quick support forces have taken over their territories. Paramilitaries denied the accusation. According to the National Organization for Migration, over 319,000 people have already left the country, while more than 1 million migrate between different cities to save themselves from violence. Calls for aid increased in Nigeria on Saturday for thousands of people displaced by violence that erupted 2 weeks ago in central Plateau state. According to local officials, at least 170 people have been killed as a result of a violence, while reports confirm that tensions remain high after the initial attacks on May 15. The recent crisis is one of the many security challenges facing President-elect Bola Tinubu, who takes office on Monday. Meanwhile, it remains unclear that triggered the attacks in Plateau's Manu district, but tit-for-tat killings between herders and farmers often spiraled into villages raided by heavily armed gangs. In this sense, the National Emergency Management Agency said that more than 3,000 people were displaced and over 700 houses were partially or completely destroyed. On Monday, Paris will negotiate with different countries to prevent continued pollution from tripling if no action is taken on time. Environmental pollution has doubled in the last 20 years and less than 10% of what is discarded is recycled, resulting in threats to health and biodiversity. The United Nations Environment Assembly, created in 2022 in Nairobi, and an intergovernmental negotiating committee in charge of drafting a legally binding treaty by 2024, from May 2029 to June 2nd, will be resumed the work already planned in UNESCO in Paris. And in Netherlands, thousands of Dutch climate activists blocked an A12 highway in The Hague on Saturday to respond to a call by Extinction Rebellion in an effort to stop the Dutch government's handing out subsidies to fossil fuels companies.
We're here to protest the 30 billion that the Dutch government pumps into the fossil fuel industry through subsidies every year. This is absolutely baseless. There's no reason why the Dutch government should subsidize the fossil fuel industry at a time when we should try our hardest. We should give everything that we have to get rid of the fossil fuel industry.
I think that so many people are so worried about where it's heading towards the climate crisis. And we just want to give out a voice, a shout out, that we need to do something and take action, and especially our government, who's just slacking. So it's time to take action and stand up.
And we have come to the end of this new brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I am Heidy Maurell. Thank you for watching.